What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel. I hope you're all doing great. Today I have for you all an account takeover for Sun 65, which is going to hopefully be pretty helpful for some of you. It's also going to be pretty interesting because a lot of the accounts that I help are typically a little bit earlier in the game and they relate to those players more. This account is kind of like in the position where they're late game with a few tweaks, and honestly, by the end of the year, this account could move into, I'd say, like the in-game territory. We're doing a lot of this stuff on auto. We have Ramen 2 done later in this year. Right now, Ramen 2 is not quite done yet. We have some missions to move through, but very close to being in that high-end level of play, which we're going to go over all the things that I would possibly tweak to actually get there. But I did finish up a gear cleanse for him, which we end up getting rid of a lot of stuff. This is pre-cleanse, so about 1,300 unequipped artifacts and then about 1,300 unequipped accessories. This doesn't show the whole picture though, because we also had about 300 pieces in the inbox. Now we have 2 things in the inbox. So it's like 300, maybe even a little bit more. Either way, there was a lot to be cleansed. And I did cleanse a lot of this stuff because this is the pre-cleanse and this is the post-cleanse. This is the post-cleanse. Basically what you're seeing is a big difference in the 6-star pieces. The reason why it went from 1630, which is a lot of 6-star pieces, down to 912 is because he pre-rolled everything. So it was really easy to go ahead and cleanse. These pieces are good, these pieces are not. And this account is in the position where his champions are geared pretty well. So we're not trying to keep the garbage pieces of gear. I really want him to focus on starting to keep pieces that are, well, correct sets, but the substats also match the set they're in. For example, if you have a cruel piece of gear, if you have a crit rate, crit damage, okay, that's looking pretty good, but maybe you have crit rate plus resistance. Well, you have a ton of different pieces of gear. That cruel piece, unless it's like an epic, say for example, in like double rolls or triple rolls crit rate, you're probably just gonna sell it because crit rate plus resistance don't really match, and on that set, they really don't match. So at this level of account, you're really getting rid of all those like filler pieces, the pieces that aren't great, because you finished majority of the content. The content that he's going into now requires the sets to ideally have very good matching substats, as well as obviously the main stat matching as well. Like an attack percentage glove, you're not gonna really necessarily want things like crit rate and crit damage. If you're building for crit rate and crit damage, you're probably gonna have a crit rate or crit damage main stat glove, whereas attack percent, you would probably rather have things like accuracy, for most situations, okay? Accuracy, speed, things to help your bomb champions out. Now this is just a umbrella approach. Obviously, don't take everything I'm saying for your account necessarily. A lot of the advice will be related, but not all of it. Like some of the stuff is specifically for this account because that's what I'm going off of in this video, of course. But moving on past the gear cleanse, this is the breakdown of his account. So this little paper right here is basically just what I do for account reviews, which speaking of, if you're interested in having an account review done, if you're interested in having Hydra, dungeons, whatever it may be, 3v3, click the link down below, get signed up through that link, message me on Discord, and we'll get you set up with an account takeover. But this is what we have, just like a snapshot in time of his account. So this gives his player breakdown, where he's currently farming, or what he's currently cleared to, which I'm gonna talk about this because this is a big deal here. Faction Wars, done, but I got a huge pointer, huge tip for a lot of players for right here. Make his runs much faster because right now, they're a little bit shaky, it seems, just from the little bit I can see. Arena, we definitely can get higher in Arena. Gold 1 definitely can happen. He knows it can do it. It's just putting the time into actually doing that. Great Hall level is kind of low, 190. But I mean, it's not bad. Like his account has been active for a while. 190, it's not bad. Just consistent farming in the arena, that's gonna get you situated. But honestly, I mean, the Great Hall takes forever to finish out anyway. So accuracy's all maxed, excellent. Getting crit damage, everybody, resistance, you're going to be in a really good spot. So he's doing good there. Overall, I would like to see it at max level ideally, but this is actually fine. Clan bosses, 1 key, everything there. Hydra, he does 1 key Nightmare, which I actually built that out for him a few days ago. He does 1 key on normal as well. His Nightmare team, in case you're curious, is the following. Scroll down here. Let's see where he's at. He's like 54 million. It was basically full auto. Mithrala, Supreme Gallic, Newt, Ugo, Molly, and Siffy. It's a very smooth team. So Nightmare and his other key on normal, he can definitely do brutal and hard. It's just about time to actually build those champions. So moving on to the next stuff, this is what he has as far as Doom Tower goes, as far as what champions he's unlocked. I have some suggestions to fill out, but I'm going to fill that out after this video. And then the gearing suggestions, I have some stuff here as well. But I want to go over this. So this is artifact breakdown, dungeon priority. This is what I think is so interesting, and I really want to harp on this a little bit later on. I haven't fixed the gear guide just yet, but the dungeon priority for his account is very different than what I say for most accounts. This one is actually Sand Devil, Spider. Shoguns and Ice Golem can probably be swapped, honestly, but I'm going to talk about that in just a minute. So this is the breakdown that I'm having currently. So let's go ahead and jump in here, look at his account, and go through some of the things that I have on this notepad to actually share with you all. So the first thing is to do the missions and get Ramentu. Ramentu is a fantastic champion. These missions give fantastic rewards. This is like, if you're ever stuck and you don't know where to go, this is where you go. Go to your missions, start working on this stuff. I mean, right now, get 10 artifacts at the forge using accuracy charms. This is literally extremely easy. You just come in here, 10 artifacts using accessory charms, boom, forge 10, you're done. That's all you got to do. I'm not going to do it because it has an energy refill. Maybe he's saving that. But then you have defeating champions in Tag Team Arena. Also very easy, a little more time consuming, but then you continue on through. All of this stuff he can complete. He gets stuck when it's reached gold 1 in Tag Team Arena. That's where he's going to get stuck, but he doesn't even have that until the next section, I believe, unless he's already done it before, but I think it's on the next group. Either way, focus on the missions, get your Ramentu. It's a free, very solid Void Legendary, especially with Polymorph being a little bit different now. As far as needing accuracy, you can build your Ramentu to do very well in 3v3, pushing to gold 4, in Classic Arena, in general, to be honest. So the next thing that I want to talk about is the Faction Guardians. This is something I've been seeing quite a bit recently. So you look at the Faction Guardians, it's 2 out of 10, 2 out of 10, 0 out of 10, 0. We have 2, 0, 0, 2, 6, 10, 2. So like a really weird distribution of legendaries. But when you come into the account, I was thinking everything was going to be full. Because when I see +4, +2, +2, +1, +1, I'm like, okay, everything's probably going to be full here. But unfortunately, things like Demon Spawn, things like High Elves are not actually full. So he went ahead and empowered them. So High Elves has just 2, just 1 slot filled out. If he didn't +4 the Lysandra, he would have 2 more sections filled. Now, there is a little bit of I can't really give a solid approach to everybody in every situation, because Lysandra being +4 versus all of your High Elves having 10% defense, extra accuracy, extra speed, maybe he wants to use his Lysandra in a lot of areas. +4 does give quite a big bonus. If you look at the empowerment, it's going to give 55 extra accuracy, 15 speed, so maybe that makes sense for him. But +1ing champions, Fushan, kind of makes sense, to be honest. I mean, because Fushan is part of his clan boss team, do more damage, that makes sense. +1ing Ninja, it's from Noble, so not really a dupe. Candrafon, +2. I don't know if I would have done that, especially with the nukers he has, but in general, the general rule that I like to say is do not empower champions if your Faction Guardians are not full. I did empower my Ray before my Dark Elves were full, and I actually am still missing 1 slot at the end. But having 10% attack, extra accuracy, extra defense, and extra speed on all the champions in a specific faction, in my opinion, is much more valuable 99% of the time than a little bit of a stat boost on a champion you're going to use in very few areas. Even this Fushan boost, I think he could still get 1 key clan boss without a doubt, without the +1. So maybe you know that, son, maybe not. Either way, definitely recommend not empowering your champions until you're more full on the Faction Guardians, because it takes so long to actually fill them out. It's really worth it to keep it. And even then, I'm very slow to actually empower champions. But moving on from that, let's talk about the Faction Wars thing that I was going to mention. Like, it's super, super helpful. And that is, these presets are not the same as everywhere else in the game. So watch this, okay? Delete Clan Boss, delete Fire Knight, delete Spider 20. Now, we're going to go over to Dungeons. So don't panic too much. I'm going to show you something, okay? We're going to Dungeons. See what he has over here. All right, Dungeon presets, Sand Devil, Iron Twins, Fire Knight. These are not even the same. The ones that are saved over in Faction Wars are not the same as the ones saved in the Dungeons. Dungeons, Faction Wars, Arena, and Clan Boss, well, specifically Hydra Clan Boss, all have their own specific presets. I mean, Clan Boss is shared with other dungeons. You guys already know that. But Faction Wars, Arena, Dungeons are all different. So make sure your Faction War teams, you get them all laid out. See, this is the same as his dungeon ones. Sand Devil, Iron Twins. Boom. There you go. The same as the dungeon ones right there. So your Faction War teams, come in here, delete all the presets. And for me, what I do is I just have it set like left to right. So it doesn't really matter what order you do it in, But I have mine, I think, Lizardmen, Skinwalker, Night Revs, Undead Horde, Demon Spawn, Ogryn, Orc. But you can do it in whatever order. It really doesn't matter whatsoever what order you want to do it in. But come in here, load up your champions. Okay, we got by faction, we go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Boom. And now set the presets. Okay, we got this champion using this move here. So now instead of doing your faction wars in 5 or 6 minutes, maybe, one of the factions I clicked on earlier was pretty kind of slow, to be honest, 5 minutes and 6 minutes there. You just come in here, take these same champions, and instead of Maneater, or instead of Skull Crusher, for example, doing his counterattack on every wave, make him only do it on the last one. So now instead of counterattacking all the time, slowing the runs, Skull Crusher's only going to be doing it at specific times. You can farm faction wars in half the time. It's going to be so much smoother, so easy, so smooth. It's perfect. So make sure you do that. Everybody watching, go in here, delete all your presets because they just copied over from before and they're wasted. All these, just a waste of space currently. Next thing I want to talk about, though, on this account specifically, is the farming focus shift. Now, most accounts, the majority of accounts that I come into, I say, do not farm these 2 dungeons. Sandel's Necropolis, as well as Phantom's Shogun's Grove. Okay, I don't know why I had such a hard time saying that, but majority of the time I say don't do these, okay? They're a waste of time because the players are going to get far more benefit from farming these actual dungeons. However, this account's gear is different because we have a lot of 6-star pieces already. His champions are built pretty well. We have Artak, Perception and Speed, pretty fast, good HP, but we have good regeneration gear. Like if you wanted to move him over to Regeneration, which is how I have my Artak built, or even Relentless, or whatever it may be, he could do that. He can do it. It could make it make sense. But champions like Georgia, okay? The nukers are typically what I look at the most. He's in Cruel, 2 pieces of Cruel. He's got really good crit damage, good attack, good speed. Champions like Kandrafon is in full Savage. He has good speed, good crit damage, pretty good attack. We have champions like Siphi, who's decked out in speed gear and pretty good speed. Not even fully awakened boots. So looking at this gear, I see that, okay, a lot of his champions are built, and they're built pretty well. Michinaki, good speed, okay crit damage, we need a little more crit rate, but good accuracy, great for Hydra, very solid there. We have Tuhanarok, which I thought I built her, but I don't think I actually did, but good stats overall. So looking at a lot of his champions, just clicking on them, they're built well. So at this point, this is the point where I'm saying, okay, don't spend your energy so much farming things like Dragon. Honestly, Dragon, in my opinion, goes from way up here to way down low, except for like in 3x speed event. Because right now, what are you getting from Dragon? Don't need accuracy, perception's better. Don't really need speed, but it is best to, if you're really pushing speed on your champions, but how often is that dropping? Not very often. You got what, 1 in 10 or something % chance to actually get that? Very, very low. But we have accuracy, not needed, speed, basically irrelevant because we have perception instead of speed, plus righteous gear, he does buy the forge passes. But during 3x speed, it is worth farming. Lifesteal, not being used. Destroy, not being used currently. Toxic, doesn't need it. The main thing you use it for is Clan Boss for most players, so he doesn't need that here. Already 1 key's no problem. Frost, Daze, Avenging, and Stalwart are all basically useless. When you compare that to things like Fire Knight, which have many very usable in-game sets, Spider, you basically have to farm it because there's so much RNG as far as the accessories that drop. Plus, it's a great source of farming silver, so definitely always farm Spider. And then you have Ice Golem. Ice Golem gives you Retaliation, which is very good for Hydra stuff, for Clan Ball stuff, which we don't really care too much about that right now, but very good for Hydra. Retaliation, great for Hydra. Reflex, great for Hydra. Cursed, great for Hydra. And Provoke, great for Hydra. Guess what? When you're getting later in the game, your focus is going to be on, well, Hydra, or speeding up your dungeon runs. Reflex, great for that, because now you're resetting cooldowns randomly. It's going to be some RNG, but that extra RNG could allow you to finish the run a little bit quicker. The reason why Fire Knight is still very valuable is because crit damage, Savage, great for your PvP nukers. Stun, very good for Mighty Uko in PvP specifically. But Sunset is great in general. Regeneration is very good for your solo and duo farmers. So Fire Knight is extremely valuable. Shield set, great for Seer, stripping the shields, all that kind of stuff. So Fire Knight's very valuable. Ice Golem is very valuable, and Spider is very valuable. However, he already has a lot of very valuable stuff. So Sand Devil and Shogun's Grove now become very valuable because now you can go in here to your champions, start empowering your stuff. Boom. Your Fushan, for example, run some Sand Devils, get this brought up, and now your Fushan is going to be able to be built to hit even harder, which would probably be better than the +1 empowerment, which you can't go back. So it is neither here nor there, but your UDK. Boom. You land HP percentage there, HP percentage here, and HP percentage here. Now your UDK has tons of HP percentage, making that Stone Skin shield even bigger. So it's a great, great course of action. However, we got a little bit of an issue. So Sand Devil's team is currently on stage 17. So stage 18, 19, 20, all the way down to 25. What I would do here is just use Godseeker. Godseeker is going to be the key to go through this the rest of the way. However, you're going to have to change out this damage dealer most likely. So on stage 18, Ninja's going to weak hit all the time. It's going to be a bad day, but just drop Ninja, maybe throw in a Spirit Affinity Champion, possibly Newt. I don't really know how well he would do, but throw in a Spirit Affinity Champion, ideally one that brings burns, maybe can activate the burns. And then in the future stages, use Ninja. With another 4 stage, then just swap it out for somebody else. Really, any champion's going to work as long as your Godseeker is a correct speed. She's currently 258, so it looks like she's built to do stage 25, 24-ish, but obviously these are lower stages. All you have to do there is just go in and manual it. Don't full auto it because she may res at the wrong time. Maybe Ninja doesn't die at the right time. Whatever it may be, just go in here and manual those stages so then you can go ahead and work up to stage 24 or 25 ideally. Either one of those stages are going to be perfectly fine. If you can do it Godseeker plus Ninja and farm food alongside of it, great. I'm a huge fan of farming food alongside everything else, but make this a top priority because this is going to be where a ton of gear is going to be farmed for you. This is really extremely valuable because your gear in general in your account is very solid, which is a completely different thing than I say to most players, which is don't do these dungeons just yet because you need a lot better gear. But for your account, this is definitely going to be what I'm going to recommend. And then Shogun's Grove hasn't focused there whatsoever, but get up to these higher stages. He doesn't have Kaimar, doesn't have Yumiko, so the teams are going to have to be a little bit more creative. Unfortunately, the RNG was not in his favor. No Kaimar, no Yumiko. It's still possible, but yeah, you can look at the best teams. They're probably all going to have, well, not on stage 1, stage 25, but unfortunately we can't see that. So either way, definitely focus on those 2 dungeons. Godseeker plus Ninja, Godseeker plus another damage dealer. Going to be an easy way to do Sand Devil's Necropolis. Now, Ice Golem's Peak. Since we are talking about Ice Golem, and I mentioned that it being so good to actually do, this should be done on hard mode, without a doubt. Do hard mode. You can do stage 10. If you have these 2 champions, stage 10 is done. These 2 champions are Artak, which is right here. You can't see him because he's behind me. Artak. And guess who I'm going to say? Elva. Elva Autumnborn, that's all you need. Make Artak in Regeneration plus Immortal, or really whatever you want him to be in, because Elva's going to carry. Elva does so much healing. She is just an incredible champion. Put her in some very survivable gear. She doesn't need regeneration or anything like that. She heals all the time as it is. Tons of healing. Tons of healing. So put her with Artak. Run them through Ice Golem. These stages that are Force Affinity may not go super smooth, but once you get to stage 9, it's going to be easy. No problem farming that whatsoever. In stage 10, it's going to be a little bit more RNG, but just do stage 9. You can go from stage 1 to stage 9 with very small tweaks in your gear, and you're going to be farming that very consistently. Make it very easy. You can do it duo. You can do it solo. Doesn't really matter. Oh, sorry. Duo with those 2 champions, or you can do a full team. Doesn't matter, but definitely start farming stage 9. Even with duo, it's not that slow. All right, Ice Golem's hard to make it super fast, especially on the hard mode ones, because you can't just blow up the boss. You got to go a little bit slower. We got the champions. The champions definitely are there, so go ahead and start farming that. Iron Twins, I'm not talking about that because he's doing stage 15. That's all looking good there. Dragon's Lair, already mentioned it. He is doing stage 10 there, so no problem. Fire Knight is one where it's definitely worth doing on these higher stages. For me, I stop at like stage 6 because it gives great rewards. It's Void Affinity. Any stage on hard is better than stage on normal. So if you can do stage 1 hard, that's better than stage 25 normal. So do hard if you can, but it is more difficult. I know that. It's challenging. But if you have champions like Valkyrie, which he does, if he has champions like, Cardiel, I don't think. So champions like Farrakhan, champions like Lanathril, which doesn't have, champions like Helikath, possibly for the block damage. I did a team with him. But on stage 6, all this is accessible and achievable by using champions who are not, meta for stage 10, but they work on stage 6 without really that much issues. And you still get amazing gear drops. You're getting that good Savage, Stun, Regeneration, Crit Damage, Shield Gear. You're getting all that stuff good. So there we go. Fire Knight is done. It's going to be pretty easy. Now I have a few more notes over here. Let's make sure everything's done. Artek and Elva. Fire Knight climb into hard mode. Majority of energy going to Sand Devil and Shogun. I think that's going to be super important. Like thousands and thousands of energy going into those 2 dungeons. Get into stage 24 and 25. It's going to be a huge boost for your account, especially looking for crit damage, ascensions, HP percentage, attack percentage, crit rate, speed on boots. It's so good. And then the gear upgrades. So this is something I really need to focus on because there comes a time in your, lifespan with Raid where dungeons aren't dropping your best gear. And you may already see this with your account, but the Forge, if you use the Forge properly, you're going to get some of your best gear coming from the Forge. So when it comes to forging, specifically if you're somebody who's buying the Forge passes, make sure whenever you're forging the purchased sets, basically the Forge pass sets, you're always using rank, rarity, and then a subset charm. Ideally, you're using a weapon or a type charm as well, because weapons, helmets, and shield, if you're looking for general usable pieces that can help you finish a set, these are going to be your best bet, because weapons, helmets, and shield always have a static main stat. It's going to be attack for weapons, HP for helmet, and defense for shield. The substats, well, it's going to be pretty easy to hit those because you know whatever main set you're going to get is going to be perfectly fine. Whereas with gauntlets, chestplates, and boots, most of the time, if the main stat is no good, doesn't matter what the substats are, you're probably going to have to sell it anyways. There are situations where you can re-roll, situations where substat of speed, if it's a triple or quad roll, you're still going to keep that. But most of the time, if the main stat is something that's garbage, you're probably going to be selling these Forge set pieces. So ideally, use a type charm, assuming you're not like stacked on very good weapons, helmets, and shields. Use this to get started. And then from there, start using some other things to kind of flesh out the different pieces you have. So Defiant, Righteous, Bolster, and Instinct are all sets that if you forge this down, your arena, boom, is going to go to the next level. Your arena teams are going to be so much better. You're going to be able to throw it on, I know you got a Pytheon. I don't necessarily know if I would do it on Pytheon, but different champions could have Bolster. Defiant, you could have it on your Elva. That's who I have it on currently for my account. And then Righteous for things like Hydra, just all kinds of different areas, any dungeon builds. This is going to give you some very good gear. And then, including the Forge, but moving past the Forge Pass, we have things like lethal gear. This is going to be better than Savage. I mean, it's crit rate plus ignores enemies' defense, which is literally better than Savage. Unfortunately, you can't farm it all the time. You can only farm it during this specific Doom Tower rotation, which you are almost on Dark Fae. So make sure, you're probably already doing this, but make sure once you get to Dark Fae, you are doing that every day using all your keys. Even if you're waiting to use these secret rooms until you get there, that's great, because each time you clear a secret room, you're going to get a bonus key, meaning a bonus run on Dark Fae, meaning a little bit extra Forge accessories when you're getting up there. So make sure you're always doing your farming for the Doom Tower bosses. Make sure you're getting the best pieces of gear whenever you can, and make sure whenever you're forging, you're always using all the charms you possibly can. Now, rank and rarity, be mindful of those. For me personally, this is like just personally for my account, I'll forge perception sometimes, but resilience most of the time, just to get silver. Like, I won't any longer use rank or rarity on resilience pieces. I 100% do it just to get some silver. Like right now, you're capped on these epic ones, it looks like. So just go in here, forge, say 400 pieces, sell every single piece except for like maybe legendary with like really good substats or like a speed roll. Maybe you want to try to roll it into a quad roll because a quad roll speed in any set's going to be valuable. So maybe try to do that. But majority of stuff, I'm just going to sell. It's just going to be my silver farm basically. And then perception, I sometimes do that depending on how much I have. But perception's still very valuable. Resilience is just not used a ton. So it's definitely something worth considering, just using that as kind of like your silver farm. Granted, I never have any silver, so that's probably partially why I do that. Next thing I'm talking about is Ice Golem and Fire Knight more important than Dragon, and solo and duo champs for tournament efficiency. So I talk about it all the time. If you watch my channel, you already know this, but solo and duo champions to farm things like Spider, to farm things like Dragon, Ice Golem, those areas, try to get it going. Sand Devils, try to get it going whenever you can. So now you can do the Dragon Turn Attack Tournament, which solo and duo is not great for turn attack, but it works for the tournament. You're still gonna get points, but it's also gonna be good for champion training. So as you're doing the tournament for Dragon, you're also getting points for champion training. So now you're killing two birds with one stone, basically, and your runs are gonna be much more efficient. You're gonna be able to save energy. Sand Devils, you're gonna be always farming food while also collecting the oils. It's gonna be very similar time. Granted, the strategy there is a little bit difficult because of Godseeker's book needs. You can get it with fully booked Godseeker. You just gotta have it a little bit different as far as her awakening goes. But either way, neither here nor there. Try to do that if you can. It's not required. I know some people just like fast runs, so definitely it's completely up to you. But he has all the main solo champions. So he has Artak, he has Nishak. Nishak is very good for solo and duoing Dragon. So Artak and Nishak, along with Elva and Mithrala, can do all of the content that you're gonna do basically. Well, Dragon, Ice Golem, and Spider, duo, basically. They can do it duo. Next up, I wanna talk about some 3v3 stuff. So we talked about all the PvE content, getting your champions geared out better. This part is building go second teams for 3v3. Now, I don't know what all teams he actually uses, but when you look here, they're all fast teams. If you have all fast teams, one of these teams is likely not that fast, which is the Lysandra team. You're going to be faster than their slow teams, but this team is not going to be faster than their top team. So depending on how you do this, it could work perfectly for you. But it looks like right now you have all speed boosters. This team at the bottom is probably pretty slow, but if you were to add, say, champions like Pythion in this team, in full stone skin, pretty fast with revenge accessories, he's going to be amazing for this content. I know you have Pythion, he's right here. So we put Pythion here, and now all of a sudden, UDK is protecting Pythion, Pythion's healing the entire team. It becomes a mess for the other team. Now, as far as what damage dealer you're going to use, well, you could use, let's see who all you have. I know Sun Wukong could be pretty good. He hits pretty hard. We have Georgia. Georgia would be a very solid champion here, especially with the Big Mama to protect him. Ursuga Warcaller. Maybe throw her in a bolster set. I don't know what she's wearing currently, but this is just like some ideas. Having a champion like Ursuga in a bolster set, it's going to be a very big bolster set. It's going to be adding a shield onto Georgia. Pythion's going to be adding extra protection from the buffs, and UDK is going to be protecting Georgia from any single target hits. If there's a Necrit on the account, it's going to be even better. But unfortunately, there is no Necrit. There is just a bunch of Runekeeper Dazdurks. So either way, Necrit would be amazing, but we don't have him. But having a good nuker, even your +2 Candrafon, he's not being used. So throw like a +2, actually that'd probably even be better, a +2 Candrafon. We do lose increased attack, so maybe you could fit somebody else in there who has increased attack. But if you had Ursuga, you're not going to need as much tanky stuff. So maybe throw in, you already have Mithrala being used, but let's filter by buffs, filter by increased attack, and now you see who you actually have. Well, Brogni. Brogni's a great champion. He's possibly in bolster, though if you want to use him for the Cadaver team, he's not going to be in bolster because it doesn't work very well for there. But you do have some other champions who can give you increased attack. You have this champion right here. We have Drakgul the Gaunt. He has a increased attack as well as a block damage. So he's a pretty cool champion. On all allies for 2 turns. Also places block damage for 1 turn on allies with less than 30% HP. So the block damage is conditional, but he does do increased attack and increased defense. So some of these champions could possibly fit into this team, give you that increased attack for Candrafon. But then again, Candrafon also gives himself increased attack. So getting a go second team that has a little bit more damage could be something beneficial to your account, and pushing into Gold 1 3v3, definitely. So I went ahead and did this, and it didn't save your presets, but either way, it just broke them. It's fine because they're all saved already. But same thing with your defense. Getting a team like that into your defense could be very good. Your defense, like I said, it's only got an attack twice. You lost this one, you lost both in that first one. That's typically a pretty good sign that, hey, maybe this first team needs to be changed, or maybe the other 2 teams are just so good that people are just never going to beat those, and they only beat the first team. But either way, 3v3, definitely, I like to have plenty of go second options, because go second options built for offense often work very well for defense as well. Now, moving on from 3v3, a little quick talks about Live Arena. Live Arena is going to be very situational, kind of low in Live Arena, so definitely you get a pretty big option. UDK, Sify, Georgia, probably not even Georgia so much. UDK, Sify, Candrafon, let's see, Harima and Candrafon are probably going to be 2 very popular options for you to pick. If we got another good damage dealer I can think of right off the top of my head, I'll show you. Wukong could be a very solid option as well. So Candrafon, Harima, Wukong, Georgia are 3 very solid options. The issue with Georgia potentially, though, is going too slow. So maybe with Arbiter, if you're planning to go fast, your Sify's fast, perfectly fine. UDK, those champions, Pythion. I'd say Pythion, Arbiter, Sify, UDK, and Mighty Uko are going to be like your 4 main support champions. Harima, Georgia, and Candrafon are probably going to be your 3 most popular damage dealers. Maybe use Helicath as well, built in a Savage for some good damage, but looks like he's for Iron Twins right now. You have Ithos as well, so you have some good damage dealer options. You have champions like Mountain King you could build up, Sun Wukong you could build up, a lot of different potential damage dealers, but those ones I mentioned are probably going to be your main 3. It is situational, but that's just my opinions when it comes to actual Live Arena stuff. I'd say it's going to be pretty easy for you where you're at right now. You are decaying, so I see you're not too interested in it. You've gotten some Live Arena stuff done, but not a ton. Level 4, so once you focus on it, you're probably going to win quite a bit as you're just getting your feet wet. As you get started, you're going to win quite a bit. And then Classic Arena, finish Great Hall. So looking through his champions, he has tons of champions to build, tons of things that his attention could be distracted to, and it definitely happens, like analysis paralysis. You have so much stuff going on, you don't know where to focus on. If I would say the main things I would do, as soon as you get this account back, what I would do is go in here, start working on Sand Devils, build your Sand Devil stuff, work on your Faction Wars organization. And those are the two main things I'd say. Doom Tower, you're already farming it. Sand Devils and Shoguns, get to stage 25. Sand Devils is more valuable than Shoguns in my opinion. So Sand Devils, get down here, get it done. Shoguns, get it done. Ice Golem, work to stage 10 hard, and then organize your Faction War stuff while you're doing all that. Continue farming the arena, work on 3v3, and then focus on those missions. Focus on the missions, ideally before 3v3, because you don't even have to get to gold 1 just yet. You do need to get to it pretty soon though for this mission coming up. But either way, guys, hope you all enjoyed this video. Thank you very much for watching. Most importantly, Sun65, I hope you enjoyed this takeover and got some good direction now for where you can actually go on your account. So with that said, I'll catch you all in the next video.